Okay, so let us put the Pranami mantra on, and then we'll get started. I see Twinkle there and Mansi. Hare Krishna, both of you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Please accept my humble obeisances. How are you, Prabhuji?
Very good. Thank you, Mansi. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hi, Twinkle. How are you?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, everyone.
You know
Hare
Twinkle?
Krishna.
Twinkle
No,
is very
Prabhu,
long. Huh?
I don't know Twinkle, but I just saw her, so I said hi.
Oh, okay. Okay, well, I thought she's
Hare
so
Krishna.
popular.
I want to believe that, Prabhuji. How are you?
I'm telling you, you are.
Well, if I'm popular for good reasons, then that's good.
Well, of course, good reasons. Of course, what else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Nandipati Mataji. How are you?
Good, thank you.
That's very good. And I see Sneha is there as well. Hare Krishna, Sneha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, Prabhuji.
Great. Vallabh Hari Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Capital K.
Okay, so let me put the Pranami mantra on.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dhanvat Pranam. I'm sorry, I was on mute and I was speaking.
That's okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for asking. How about you?
Wonderful. Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you for asking. And Venkat Prabhu just joined. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
You know, just day before yesterday, I was reminding you.
I'm sorry?
Just day before yesterday, I was remembering you. And
Oh,
the
yeah?
moment I remembered you, the same moment I saw your email. I mean, you sent the email at the very same moment.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. That's real telepathy. Okay, let's see. I can share the screen. And I can do
Telepathy, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we have Pranami mantra here. Who would like to read or the chant the Pranami mantras today? Any new person?
I can do that, Prabhuji.
Okay, go ahead, Prabhu.
Nama Krishna Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namami Namaste Saraswati Gauravachari Nirvishesha Navadi Jai Shri Jai Prabhu Nityananda Kiriya Adala Jai Shri Jai Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivastava Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivastava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vancha kalpatarusha, kripa
कोई गद्दी मेरे पीछे रख दो।
Guru Maharaj ki jai, Prabhupada ji ki jai, all Vaishnavas ki Hari Bol. You know, slow 15 chapters. 15 minutes.
Prabhuji, you are on
Can,
mute.
cannot hear you. You're on mute.
Okay. Now, I was saying, Ashok Krishna Prabhu, I have made you the co-host with the
Yes, Prabhu, thank
usual
you.
responsibility for keeping everyone on mute.
Yes.
So thank you so much, Prabhu. I appreciate your service. Okay, Hare Krishna, everyone. Anybody has any questions or comments from last week? Okay, that's all right. So then we will move on to this week's session. And today we'll try to cover chapters 15 through 21. Let's see how it goes. And we'll start with the chapter 15, which is about Dhenukasur. Then anybody knows what form of animal Dhenuka was in?
Donkey.
Donkey. Yes. Yes. Very good. So, excuse me. So this is about the donkey demon. So what happened was that one day, I mean, as they used to go to different forests, as you know, how many forests are in that area, in the bridge area?
12.
12, yes, 12. And then there's smaller forests within the forest kind of thing. So there's a lot of forests, but 12 main ones. So they would go, once they became over 5 years of age, they would go to any of these forests. So one day, Krishna and Balaram took all the boys to a place called Talwan. Tal is like a palm tree. It's not palm. It's not palm tree, but it's like palm tree. It's very tall and very skinny. Anyway, so they went there, and they started playing. And they were playing different games, but one of the games they played was that Krishna will imitate the singing of different birds and bees, I guess. So, so sometimes he'll sing like bees or buzz around like bees. And as he was buzzing around, his friends will sing his pastimes, which is basically what they did all the time anyway. Then he will sometimes imitate the sound of a parrot or a cuckoo. Sometimes he will make the sounds of the swans. I mean, he could make any of these sounds. And sometimes he'll actually start dancing like a peacock or peacocks, and do a really great, vigorous dance like the peacocks. And this story, that kind of out of context, where the peacocks and Krishna were dancing together wonderfully, and that's when the peacocks presented the feather to Krishna, and that's since then Krishna has been wearing a peacock feather on his crown. Anyway, that's a different story. Coming back to today's story about Dhenukasur. So, I mean, basically they were playing and they were laughing and they were joking around. And sometimes he will start to call the different cows, who had maybe wandered away from where they were, and he'll call them by their names. So I don't know if you know, but there were total of 108 different kinds of cows, or maybe kinds not the right word, categories of cows with different characteristics. Like somebody will have the shape of a mridanga, the face shape of a mridanga. Somebody will be white in color, somebody will be black in color, somebody yellow in color, green in color, and they'll have their individual names. So Krishna will call them out. Hey Dhavali, come back. Hey Shamali, come back. Hey Mridanga Mukhi, come back. And they will all respond back. How does cow respond? Anybody knows? Or nobody dares? Anybody? Very good. Very good. Yes, exactly. So that's how they will respond. Sometimes Lord Balaram would pretend that he's kind of tired now. So he would lie down and he'll lay his head upon the lap of a cowherd boy and start taking rest. And Krishna will come over and start massaging his feet. Sometimes Krishna would lie down with his head on the lap of somebody else, and another cowherd boy, I should say, he'll come and start massaging his feet. So, I mean, that's how they were doing it. So this particular day that I'm referring to, his friends, Shidama, Subal, Stok Krishna, they all came to Balram and Krishna, and they started describing this demon who is in the form of a donkey, and his name is Dhenuka. That which basically literally means a donkey. And that he was living with his friends, demon friends, in this forest. And this forest was full of these tal fruits. They're supposed to be very, very sweet, very, very tasty. And they said, we would love to taste these fruits, but we or anybody else, we don't dare to go into the forest to try and taste these fruits, because the demons will kill anybody who tries to take the fruits from there. So somebody has to first kill this demon and his friends before we can taste it. And they said, you know what, Krishna, Balaram, we really feel like tasting these fruits today. So do something. Well, Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna, they went into the forest because their friends wanted to enjoy the fruits. Anything they want, Krishna will provide. And Lord Balaram went inside and he started shaking these huge trees. And all the fruits, the palm, the tal fruits, started falling down like rain falling. And of course, this made a lot of noise and ruckus. And so Dhenukasur, the donkey demon, he ran towards Balaram. How dare you, try to pluck these fruits? And he came very, very fast running to Balaram to attack him. And does everyone know that which legs do the donkeys use to attack? The general
The
knowledge.
hind,
The hind legs.
The hind legs, yes. Thank you, Sneha. So he turned around and kicked Lord Balaram with his hind legs. Lord Balaram didn't even move. So he turned around and kicked him again. This time, Lord Balaram with one hand grabbed both of his legs and started twirling him like this and threw him very, very hard. And as he was twirling him, the demon died, but he threw him to these trees. And it's described that it hit one tree, which bent and hit the other tree, second tree hit the third tree, the fourth one. 7 or 8 trees, they fell down with the force of Dhenukasur hitting those trees. Then, of course, Dhenukasur's friends were very angry, so they came to attack. And now Krishna got involved as well. So both Lord Balaram and Lord Krishna, one by one, they killed all the demons, the friends of donkey demon Dhenukasur. And then they said, their first cowherd boys, come on over. Everybody came and they said, eat to your heart's content. And they all had great time, great tal fruit party, and really had a great time. And of course, when they came back, their friends told the whole story, and they were received by Yashoda and Rohini, who gave them their, bath and their prasadam and put them to bed. Now, so who's Dhenukasur? Well, Dhenukasur represents ignorance. Ignorance of what? Ignorance of spiritual knowledge due to gross materialistic intelligence. So those people who are materialistically very intelligent and therefore totally ignorant of anything spiritual, and they start to exhibit the donkey-like foolishness, that's whom Dhenukasur represents. So what is donkey-like foolishness? Does anybody know? What's so foolish about a donkey?
It keeps on working hard, and in this case, such people would run after materialistic life and riches and ignore the spiritual life.
Right, very good. So basically, in the morning, typically these donkeys are owned by washermen in India. So typically in the morning, the washerman will put the dirty laundry, a whole load of them, on his back and tell him to go to the river. He goes to the river and the washerman takes the load off his back. Okay, you go and graze. And he wanders around from in the field from here to there all day. In the evening, washerman has finished washing the clothes. He takes these clean clothes, puts them in a bundle, puts him back on the back of the donkey, takes him home, ties him down there, and then at night he sleeps. In the morning, same routine starts. So day and night, day and night, day and night, he's working hard, but he doesn't know why he's doing that. He has no purpose in life. He doesn't know what he's doing, why he's doing that. So that's the donkey-like mentality. And the people, as Sneha was saying, they are working very hard, 10, 12, 14 hours a day, not really being sure what they're working for. Why? Why are they working so hard? They think they're getting some enjoyment, but as we know, when you're working 16, 18 hours a day, there's no time to enjoy. And by the time you retire, you're too weak to enjoy, and that's your life, finished. So anyway, so Dhenukasur, or Dhenukasur mentality, I should say, it causes ignorance of one's eternal entity. That is, we are spirit, soul, not this body. And it also stimulates foolish misconceptions, I should say, about the eternal nature of the holy name of the Lord. And it misdirects one with delusions about what is actually worshipable. So these people will worship anything and anyone without realizing why, but perhaps not worship Krishna. So a devotee tries to remove this kind of contamination, the foolishness. And when they worship Lord Balaram, by his mercy, he removes this contamination and brings the purity in the heart of the devotee. Now, so how did Dhenukasur become Dhenukasur? Well, according to Garg Samhita, in the previous life, he was actually the son of Bali Maharaj. And his name was Sahasika. So one time, he went to where Durvasa Muni was staying. And he went with 10,000 women. And they were chatting around and making all sorts of noises and laughing foolishly, really disturbing the meditation of Durvasa Muni. So Durvasa Muni said, "You acting like a donkey, go become a donkey," cursed him. And so Sahasika very quickly came to his senses, begged for forgiveness, and Durvasa Muni said, "Okay, fine. When Krishna appears and Lord Balaram appears in the land of Vrindavan, you will be there and you'll be liberated by Lord Balaram." Now, there was another reason why Lord Krishna did not kill Dhenukasur. Lord Balaram did. Does anybody know? Krishna was there, right there beside Lord Balaram. But he did not kill Dhenukasur. So Krishna had made a promise to sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the same thing. I think you started that. He promised Prahlad Maharaj that in your generation nobody will be killed by Krishna.
Yeah, I will not kill anybody in your family.
Yeah, generation. Yeah.
And so that's why he didn't. So Lord Balaram did that. So just a minor point, but I just wanted to make it. Anyway. Excuse me.
I was thinking, I don't know if this was a right thought. I did not read it, but I was just thinking, since Dhenukasur represents ignorance, and even when we chant our prayers, we say Om Agyan Timirandasya Gyananjana Shulakaya. So we remember the Guru, and Balram is the Adi Guru. So maybe that also, I don't know if it is fact or not, that Guru is the one who first kills the ignorance of
That's a
us.
very good point, Vallabhari Prabhu, and it's correct. It's a very good point. It's a correct point. Thank you for making it. Yes, for sure.
I mean, I was just thinking, is it just a thought, or is actually that could be a reason?
No, it's actually true. Lord Balaram represents the Guru Tattva, and it's Guru's role to remove our ignorance. So that is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Now, moving on to the next pastime, unless anybody has any other questions about this pastime. Okay. So a few days after the killing of Dhenukasur, they being Krishna, Balaram, their friends. Actually, no, sorry. This day, Lord Balaram did not go with Krishna. Just Krishna and his friends went, and they went as usual to the banks of Yamuna River. And it was summertime, so the boys got thirsty, and the cows got thirsty. So they all went into Yamuna, and they drank some water. But as soon as they drank the water, they all fell unconscious right there in the river. Well, Krishna was very upset when he saw that. And he went to them right away. And by his merciful glance, which is full of nectar, he revived them all. So what happened here? What happened was that within the river Yamuna was a small lake that was inhabited by a now very famous serpent by the name of Kaliya. And he was so poisonous, he literally spewed fire with his breath, and all the poison will come out. It was so poisonous, it was so hot like flame when it came out of his nostrils as he breathed, that the water of this lake would start to boil. And the vapors from this boiling of water, which had become now poisonous, they would move up as the vapors do. And even the vapors would be so poisonous that if there's any bird flying above, directly above where this vapor was going, they would fall down to the river dead. And the wind that blew over this lake, it'll carry the droplets of water, which were also very poisonous. And then the water drops will fall on the shore or near the shore, just beyond the shore. And anything and everything that was growing there would die. So there was basically no vegetation left in that area. And any creatures like fish and all that, they just die from the poison. So Lord Krishna said, it's time to clean this up. You can't have something like that in my Vrindavan. So that day, after he revived the friends and cows, he climbed up on one of the Kadamba trees, which by the way was the only tree left alive. Every other tree, all other vegetation, they were all dead because of the poison. Anyway, so he climbed up and he tightened his belt and slapped his arms like a wrestler and jumped into the water, the poisonous water. And there he started playing fearlessly, and he was like swimming and making so much commotion in the water. Like it was like water was jumping dozens of feet high in the air because of his splashing. So basically creating a lot of disturbance. And I'm not sure what that sound is, but anyway. And Kaliya, he couldn't tolerate that somebody will jump into his lake and trespass his personal residence and then make all this noise and disturbance. So he quickly went to Lord Krishna and bit him on the chest, right there, right away. And then he wrapped him up in his coils. Of course, Krishna's friends were watching from the shore. And when they saw that Krishna had been wrapped around in the coils of Kaliya, they literally fainted. They fell on the ground unconscious. Now, as I was saying, that Lord Balaram had not come with Krishna this time. And of course, other residents of Vrindavan, they were in Vrindavan, including the parents of Krishna. Suddenly, they started to see these evil omens. You know how if a man's left eye starts to quiver, it means something bad is going to happen. If a woman's right eye starts to quiver, that means something bad is going to happen. Or you see earth tremors or falling stars, or your left limb is trembling, for a man trembling, then it just means something bad is going to happen. So all that started happening to the people in Vrindavan. And they started saying, oh my God, Krishna has gone alone to the forest today without Balaram. Balaram was very strong, so he was the protection of Krishna. But he's not there today. And we don't know if some misfortune has befallen Krishna. And they got so worried, they started walking towards the river, and they were tracing the path of Krishna's footprints. And as you know, Krishna has very distinctive footprints, so they knew what they looked like to following it, and they were following it all the way to the bank of Yamuna. When they got to the lake, they saw Krishna enwrapped in the coils of Kaliya. Oh my God, you can imagine the reaction of those residents. They thought the whole world is going to become empty. And they were all prepared to enter the water to save Krishna. But Lord Balaram, who knows everything, certainly knows Krishna, he stopped them. He said, don't worry, Krishna is fine. And he stopped them from going. Okay. Now, Krishna realized how disturbed all these people have become, because even the relatives have now come here. They are feeling very disturbed. So he expanded his body and expanded and expanded and expanded until Kaliya could not tolerate the pressure anymore. And he had to loosen his grip on Krishna. And but he was so angry that the Kaliya serpent was so angry, he raised his hoods and stood still, breathing very heavily, and licked his lips a number of times. And as you know, their tongues are bifurcated. It's not single tongue, they're actually two tongues in one. And he stared at Krishna, he glared at Krishna, and was spewing this terrible poisonous fire from his nostrils. But Krishna was starting to circle around Kaliya. And he was going so fast, and Kaliya was trying to keep up with Krishna's motions. And he almost became dizzy trying to follow Krishna because he was going to circles so fast. And Kaliya was simply looking for an opportunity to bite Krishna. But he just wasn't getting it because Krishna was moving so fast. And basically it came to a point where Kaliya was so tired. He was totally depleted of any strength he had left his body. And then Krishna jumped on his hood and pushed them down and started to dance. Now it's described that when Krishna started to dance, the demigods who were watching this whole pastime from the sky, they wanted to play music, to help Krishna dance. And the Gandharvas and other good singers were there, but they said, wait a minute, how do we play these instruments? We don't have no idea what tune Krishna is playing to. They start looking at their music books and all that, and it's just not there. So finally they said, okay, fine, we'll just try to keep up with Krishna's steps, and they start playing the mridanga and other drums and other musical instruments to accompany Lord Krishna's dancing. Anyway, so this is going on. Now, Kaliya had, it said, thousands of heads, but 101 of them were prominent, like larger and very prominent. So as Krishna would step on one hood, Kaliya would raise another hood to bite him. But before he can bring the hood down, Krishna would jump on that hood. And then another one, and another one. Like basically there was this competition going on. Kaliya would raise one hood to bring it down to bite Krishna. Krishna would jump on that raised hood and start dancing on that one. And again, they were doing it very fast, but Krishna kept doing it. And every time he landed on Kaliya's hood, it would be with great force. So it would, basically tear apart that hood that Krishna landed on. So you can imagine after a few minutes or whatever of basically Krishna's foot hitting the hood of Kaliya like a ton of bricks. After a while, he had nothing left. He was basically ready to die. And his head was wheeling like crazy. He was feeling extreme pain, misery. There's blood coming from his mouth, from his nostrils. And basically, Krishna was trampling his thousands of hoods until Kaliya's body just slackened completely. He was vomiting blood from his mouth and not able to stand up anymore. And finally, Kaliya had this light go on. He finally understood that Krishna is none other than the Supreme Lord Narayan. And then Kaliya took shelter of Krishna. Now, Kaliya had many wives, known collectively as Nag Patnis, which means literally the wives of the serpent. They were watching this. And when they saw Kaliya's condition like that, they brought the children, they placed the children in front of themselves and bowed down to Lord Krishna. And they offered him unbelievably beautiful prayers that are all mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Beautiful, beautiful prayers. And their hope was that Krishna will let go their husband Kaliya. So basically, they were praying in the hope of gaining their husband's freedom. And they said some really, really amazing prayers. They were saying things like, my Lord, it's quite fitting that you have brought our cruel husband to this condition. Indeed, by your anger, he has gained great benefit. What's the benefit? He has borne upon his head the dust of your lotus feet. You, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is bearing the dust of your lotus feet. And they said, we can't imagine what piety, what pious deeds Kaliya must have done in his previous lives to deserve this kind of good luck, good fortune, to have your lotus feet land on his hoods. The dust of your lotus feet be on his head. Unbelievable. They said, this dust of your lotus feet is difficult even for goddess Lakshmi to get. Other pure devotees, so hard for them to get. But this snake, this envious creature is getting that. And then they pleaded that, my dear Lord, you are the master, and a master should tolerate an offense committed by his servant or his child. At least once they should tolerate, if not many times, at least once. So therefore, my dear Lord Krishna, please forgive our foolish husband. He doesn't understand. He did not understand who you are. Therefore, he did all this. So please forgive him. And they continued. They said, please, my Lord, be merciful. And they said, it's proper for saintly people to feel compassion for women like us. Our husband, this serpent, is about to give up his life. Please, my Lord, give back our husband, because he's our soul, he's our life. Please, my Lord, spare his life. Krishna was very pleased. He was very pleased and satisfied by their prayers. And he released Kaliya. He said, okay. Slowly, Kaliya came to his senses. I don't mean that he understood what was going on. It's external consciousness, I should say. And he got some strength back. And in a very distressed voice, he started to pray to Krishna also. And first thing he did, which is very important, a very important point I want every one of us to understand. And that is how to beg for forgiveness. In any sincere begging of forgiveness, the first thing that one has to do is admit their offense, admit their wrong. Because otherwise, why are you apologizing? So tell what you did wrong, apologize for that wrong. Just saying sorry doesn't cut it. Anyway, so that's the first thing he did. He said, I've committed these offenses against you, and I do apologize for that. And then he offered many, many prayers. And he said, and he ended, that's the other other part, integral and important part of an apology. And he said, I'm ready to accept any command you give. Whether you do that out of mercy or punishment doesn't matter. I'm here, I'm ready to accept any command you give me. Krishna was happy with that. So he told him to leave the lake of Yamuna with his family and return to a place in Fiji called Ramanak Island, where he had come from. Basically, what happened was long time ago, there was a not misunderstanding, but a fight between Garuda and Kaliya. And Kaliya thought he could win against Garuda. And so he was trying to bite him, but with his wings, Garuda beat him so much that he had to run for his life. And he came to this shelter. So he said, if I go back to that, Garuda will kill me. But Krishna said, no. No, now your hoods are marked with my footprints. So Garuda will no longer try to eat you. So you're safe, you can go. So Kaliya then worshipped the Lord by offering, oh, that's the other thing. Whenever practical, possible, and reasonable, one should also offer a gift to the person you have offended. So Kaliya brought lots of fine garments, necklaces, jewels, other valuable ornaments, scents, ointments, a large garland of lotus flowers, and he offered them all as a gift to Lord Krishna. And really did his best to please the Lord. Krishna was, of course, satisfied. And then Kaliya took permission of the Lord to leave. He circumambulated with his wife. Krishna offered him obeisances, and taking his wife's friends and children, they went to that Ramanak island in Fiji Islands. The moment Kaliya left, the Yamuna water was restored to her original condition, free from poison and full of nectarian water. An amazing story. So I guess some of you thinking, well, what's the history here? Who was Kaliya? Why was he there? What was he doing? Why was he afraid to go back? On and on and on. So let me see if I can answer some of those questions. So actually, King Parikshit asked the same question. So if any one of you was thinking to ask that question, you can compare yourself to Parikshit Maharaj. Congratulations. Okay. So Parikshit Maharaj said, why was Garuda so inimical towards Kaliya? So Shukdev Goswami said, well, Ramanak Island actually is an island of serpents, like full of serpents. And Garuda will come whenever he felt like and eat a few hundred of them. Sometimes he came very frequently, like every day maybe. So the serpent said, well, this is not good. So to placate him, they made an offer. They said, we will leave various offerings for you, my dear Garuda, at the foot of a banyan tree. And along with that, we'll also leave one snake for you to eat. But Kaliya was, one of the, I guess, lead serpents, and was very proud, was so puffed up that he would actually go and eat whatever was left as offering to Garuda. Well, when Garuda came, he found that there's nothing there. He became very furious, and he found out it was Kaliya's doing, so he chased Kaliya. And as I was saying just a minute ago, Kaliya said, I can fight you. I'm not afraid of you. He started to fight. And he began to bite, which is what basically snakes do, Garuda. But Garuda just beat the heck out of him with his wings, and Kaliya was just running for his life. And he went all the way to this lake from where Krishna has now thrown him out in Yamuna river. Well, then the questions come, why can't Garuda just come to this lake now and do the same thing that he was doing in Ramanak Island? What's the difference? Well, there's a difference. And the difference is that a few years before this thing happened, Garuda used to go to this lake and eat all the fish. There was a rishi whose story we heard, I don't know, about maybe 6-7 weeks ago, Shobhari Rishi. Anybody remember Shobhari Rishi? What was the main point about his pastime? Anybody remember?
Yeah, he did austerity underwater for a very long period. 36,000 years, something like that. I'm not too sure. Yeah,
what happened after that?
And someone came and also told him that very good, because he was very good at cooperation with someone. No.
No, you're thinking about Prachetas.
Yeah, that's it. I remembered, And then he saw fish mating and all.
Yes, correct. And then what happened?
And then he also had a desire. He got a
Correct.
desire that he also want to marry. And then he went to some
Mandhata, King Mandhata.
King Mandata. And then he wanted to marry one, but his all 50 daughters said, that they are ready to marry him.
Correct, because he took the form of a young man.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's right. That's the one. So it's the same one. So he was there, and the fish went to Shobhari Rishi and said, "Please help us. This bird Garuda keeps coming and eating us up. So very soon there'll be none of us left. So please help." So next time Garuda came, Shobhari Rishi requested him, and my dear Garuda, don't come here. I know you're hungry, go somewhere else. Leave this fish alone. They are coming to my shelter. But Garuda said, who are you? Who are you telling me not to eat fish? And I don't care, and I'm going to eat. So that got Shobhari Rishi a little angry, and he cursed him. He cursed Garuda that if you ever come back here to try and eat a fish, you will immediately die. So Kaliya had heard this, so that Garuda cannot come to that lake. Therefore, he felt that I can just go there and I can live in no fear of Garuda because he cannot come there. Now, when we talked about Shobhari Rishi, we also said that the reason for his fall down was that he had offended a pure devotee like Garuda. So just a side note. Anyway, so that was the reason why Kaliya thought he could live there safely and enjoy his life. So that's why he'd gone there. So what does Kaliya represent? Kaliya actually represents brutality, cunning, excuse me, cruelty, treachery, you name it, malice, all those kind of things he represents. So how can an entity that is brutal, that's cunning, that's full of malice, that's cruel and full of treachery live in Braja? Deceit, cruelty, treachery, brutality, they're all like poison to the loving nature of the residents of Braja. All they know is how to love Krishna. But they're so innocent and they're so trusting. That's the nature of a devotee, pure devotee, that they would not or could not or cannot recognize the malicious intention of cruel and deceitful persons. These deceitful persons, all they want to do is poison their mind against Krishna. And some of them actually do unwittingly fall into the counsel of such devious, evil persons. But Krishna says, you know what? I'm not only going to rescue my devotees, I'm going to make sure that anyone like you doesn't live here. So Krishna had this plan of curing the evil propensity of Kaliya. And the plan was basically to make Kaliya feel the touch of Krishna's lotus feet. But these cruel, brutal, malicious people who are full of treachery, they are not capable of feeling the joy of Krishna consciousness. So here was Kaliya. Instead of feeling the joy of supporting the lotus feet of the Lord Krishna on his nasty foots, he just could not appreciate his good fortune. He just could not appreciate. And he decided to bite instead of appreciating until he could feel the pangs of death. Until then, he could not. Even the wives of Kaliya, who were so loyal to him, they desired the reformation of this monster. And actually, it's their good wishes and association, I should say good wishes for his well-being, and their association which was the cause of Krishna's mercy towards him. And they had to pray. Actually, the wives of Kaliya prayed for his banishment from Braja because they understood the point. They understood the point that an entity like Kaliya does not belong in a place like Braja, which is all about love, trust, innocence, and all those kind of things. Now, the other point I want to make is that I think kind of hinted at that, but I just want to make this properly, that the banishment of Kaliya from this lake of Yamuna is a very important point. It's a very significant point in the spiritual sense. And basically it's saying that those people, those entities who create trouble against the pure devotees of Krishna by infecting them with their own malicious disposition, they may initially have some degree of success, but ultimately they are banished from that place. They are banished from that place. They literally are made to disappear from the scene where they performed all this, all these nefarious, depraved activities. And Krishna does that simply to restore the loving faith of his devotees. And he doesn't want to see people like that in the place where his devotees are residing. So essentially, he does not allow these malicious people to associate with the servants of Krishna. Even after they forego their malice towards the devotees, they're basically eternally barred from the service of Krishna in a place like Vrindavan. Although the touch of Krishna's lotus feet makes these malicious people also servant of Krishna, but not in the association of his pure devotees. They can go to a place where they're protected by Krishna. They may even have association of people who are also protected by Krishna, but not in the presence of the pure devotees of Krishna, where this person or these people cause the problem. Now, excuse me. When you think about this, if you look at the magnitude of the mercy that Krishna showed to Kaliya, it was shown despite the extreme gravity of Kaliya's offenses, who was trying to attack Krishna himself and had already attacked the devotees of Krishna. Like, how do you explain that in a rational way? How do you explain that? It's very difficult, except we say it's causeless mercy or the prayers of the pure devotees with whom these people have associated. So Kaliya having associated with the pure devotees of Krishna who are the wives of Kaliya. So hopefully that explains that. I'll pause for a second and see if there are any questions. I hope this concept was clear. It was a very important concept, and we need to be clear on that, because we need to be able to warn people who try to take people away from Krishna consciousness. I mean, that's our compassion for these people. So any questions, comments?
Prabhu, I have a question.
Krishna Prabhu, go ahead.
So when Krishna was dancing on Kaliya's hood, the Nagpatnis came and prayed and requested Krishna to let him go. So that means they were aware who Krishna was, and if so, how come Kaliya was not aware? I don't know if whether he was aware who Krishna was, or he was not aware and he was, acting ignorant.
So he was not aware until he almost died, and that's why he was attacking. But the Nagpatnis, the wives, were pure devotees, so they knew right away who this is. So they were offering their prayers, and of course they're also seeing the evidence, but they knew. They knew a lot before Kaliya realized, and that's why they started to offer their prayers to him and asking for his freedom. So yes, they did, he did not.
Okay.
Anyone else? So is the concept clear? The comparison being made with the malicious people, brutal people, cruel people, people who are full of treachery, people who try to take devotees away from Krishna with Kaliya, and what happened to Kaliya is what happens to them. So is that clear? It's a very important concept. I just want to make sure everyone understood.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Pikal.
I just had a question. I think it's not very clear in my head what exactly is going to happen for the, like you said, like Kaliya, like they are somewhere like this, they are in Vrindavan and everything. So they get to I guess get liberated because of Krishna, but they are in another space. They're not with the devotees. So I'm not very sure about this concept. If you could just
Okay, sure. So I'm glad you asked. It's a very good question. So no, I don't think I said they become liberated. They get that mercy, of course, but they're basically banished from the area, like Vrindavan. Or so let me give you some practical, real life example. I have, again, I can speak for Toronto. I've had encounter with people in Toronto who've caused a lot of issues, and they've tried to poison the minds of other devotees, and things like that. And initially they actually meet some success too. And they say, oh, see, look at me, I'm so powerful, I can do this and that. But then suddenly one day they're gone and you never see them again. And you say, you know what? Krishna has done something to take these people away from the temple, and they're so far away that they never come back. So that was the point. Kaliya was asked to get away from Braja and never come back again. So he achieved his freedom. Maybe that's the word you're thinking about. He achieved his freedom from the anger of Krishna. And he achieved his freedom in that he was allowed to live, but not liberated. Now, he was liberated later on, obviously, because now Krishna literally had his lotus feet and lotus dust on his hoods. So that's a different case. But generally speaking, people like that don't get the dust of the lotus feet of the Lord. So they don't even get what Kaliya got. They just get punishment and banishment. Is that a little more clear? Or if
Yes,
not, ask again.
No, it is. Thank you so much.
Sure. Anyone else? I just want to make sure everybody understands this point.
Prabhuji, it's like the continuation of that question. Like, what if those people change or improve themselves? Like, even then, like they try to redeem themselves, but then, like even then, they would be banished.
Yeah. So actually, that's correct. So, and there are some people who actually correct themselves, like Kaliya did. He got beat up very badly, but finally he came to his senses. And he offered his prayers and apology and all that, and he was reformed. And Krishna said, you want to serve me? Go, but go to Ramanak Island, not here. Not here anymore. A, nobody can trust you anymore. B, that fear will come back in the hearts of these devotees whenever they see you. So I don't want you here. Yes, now you should become my devotee, I agree. Go do your service, but go somewhere else. So I've given you my protection. Garuda will not attack you. I've given you the company of people who are similarly protected by me. But you go there, you cannot stay here. So yeah, so if somebody is reformed, they may be able to go to another temple or somewhere else, whatever, but not where the offense occurred. Okay? Anyone else? Going once, going twice? Okay, I'll move on. Okay, so come back to the story. So having received the gifts and all that from Kaliya, Lord Krishna came out of the lake And when the residents of Vrindavan, including Mother Yashoda, Lord Nand Maharaj, Rohini Mataji, all the other people, they saw Krishna come out of the lake. And he had already put on all these ornaments and jewels and all that in the garden. They saw all that. They were just so happy. They rushed to embrace him. And, good party right there. But this had taken a long time. So everybody was very hungry, very tired, very thirsty. And so they decided not to walk back all the way to Vrindavan. Rather, they would spend the night on the banks of Yamuna. So they all went to sleep. The good thing about those days was nobody was demanding a nice bed and nice pillow and a blanket and all those kind of things. They just lied down on the floor and went to sleep. In the middle of the night, a fire happened, which started to blaze up the entire forest. It was hot season, as I was mentioning before, so the wood was dry. And those of you who are watching news these days about Manitoba, Alberta, British Columbia, even Northern Ontario, we keep hearing so many hundreds of fires going on simply because it's so dry. Sometimes it's caused by lightning, the fire starts. And in BC, they're actually saying that a train may have passed by and a spark from the wheels and the rail may have come out, caused the fire. The point is, dry timber burns very fast. So the whole forest got engulfed in this huge fire as the residents of Vrindavan were sleeping. So obviously they felt the heat, they woke up and they saw the fire all around them. So guess what they did? They did what they always do in times of trouble. They rushed to Krishna for protection. And when Krishna saw that his relatives, his friends, neighbors, they are feeling so distressed, he said, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And he swallowed the whole fire. Just literally swallowed. This was, by the way, the first of the two fires Krishna swallows. We'll talk about the second one if we have time today. But anyway, this is the fire that he swallowed, first fire. So this fire actually represents hatred and arguments between Vaishnavas or between people of different religions who start to disrespect each other's deities or processes or systems or whatever. It can actually represent any kind of clash or conflict. So the significance is that whenever the devotees start to fight with each other, that's a sign of the destruction of the place they're in. So a temple where Vaishnavas keep fighting is going down fast. Now, Sanatana Goswami says that the fire actually was a friend of Kaliya who assumed this form. Others say, no, it was not a friend of Kaliya, it was a friend of Kansa who took the form of fire to kill Krishna and all the associates of Krishna. Okay, before I move to the next pastime, any questions or comments? There is a requirement for everyone to be awake. Correct? You know that, right? Somebody please say yes. I get nervous. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Actually,
Okay, good.
regarding Shabarmani's story. So after many years of austerities, that he did underwater, he basically fall down, we say, right? Is it because he didn't have devotee association?
So not only did not have devotee association, he had actually offended a pure devotee, Garuda. Also, meditation is not same as devotion. So he's not even called a devotee. He's called a muni or rishi, which is not necessarily same as devotee. It can be, but not necessarily. So not a devotee, no devotee association, offends a devotee, pure devotee, well, fall down is guaranteed.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's go on. So now we're going to talk about another demon that Lord Balaram kills. By the way, there are only two demons Lord Balaram killed, right? Anybody knows the names of the two demons Lord Balaram killed?
The Lambasura and
Dhenukasur.
Dhenukasura.
Correct, correct. Okay, so now it's Palambasu's turn. Dhenuka is already gone. So again, one day Krishna and Balaram were in the forest. They were dancing, they were playing, they were singing. You know, when a demon by the name of Pralamba decided to come in, enter in their midst, and disguise himself as a cowherd boy, pretended to be a friend. Now, it's not in Bhagavatam, but I heard this story from His Holiness Radha Govind Maharaj. And he said that when Palambasura entered this group of cowherd boys, he went straight to Krishna. He said, "Hey Krishna, can I play with you guys?" And Krishna knew right away that this must be a demon, because his buddies will never ask permission. He'll have to ask permission from his friends. If he can't play with them, they'll never ask they can play with him. So that was the first clue that Palambasura gave, that he was a demon. And of course, Krishna would know anyway, he's omniscient. But anyway, Palambasura went out of his way to give that clue, that, oh, just look at me, I'm the demon. Anyway, so Krishna started making plans on how to kill him. So Krishna said to Balaram and his friends, let's play a game. Let's make two parties. You be the head of one party, I'll be the head of the other party, and we'll play some game. And the condition is that the loser of the game will carry the winner of the game on their shoulders and then run, and they drew a line somewhere in the distance up to that line and come back. So the game started. Krishna and Balaram are the leaders, and the rest of them team are playing against each other. Now, Palambasur thought he was very smart. And he said, you know, every demon who has gone to kill Krishna has been killed. Which means maybe I should not tango with him. I said in Punjabi, inse panga nahi lena. So he says, I'll go and fight with Balaram. He doesn't kill many demons, so I'll fight with him and I'll kill him. So he stood in front of Balaram, had the match, and it is said that Palambasur actually deliberately lost. Not that he could have won if he tried, but he said that deliberately lost so he can carry Balaram on his shoulder. So that's what happened. He lost it. He said, okay, Lord Balaram rather, then come on my shoulders. And he put him on his shoulder and started walking towards that line. And he was walking slowly, and then as he neared the line, he started walking faster, faster and faster. By the time he got to the line, he was actually flying in the air. He took off like the airplane. Now, Bhagavatam says something very interesting. As Palambasur took off, he was in the air like an airplane, as I said. Lord Balaram actually got scared. He said, hey, what's going on? What's happening? I don't know what's going on. He was scared. And then he remembered. Do you know what he remembered? Anybody? What did Lord Balaram remember suddenly? If my wife is answering it, she said, hey, wait a minute. I am God. I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Why am I afraid? And as soon as he thought that, he picked up his fist, went like this, and boom, on the head of Palambasur. It literally broke his head into a million pieces. And he fell down like a rock, the demon that is. And Lord Balaram said, nothing has happened. He got up and he started walking towards the friends who had left them. Now, something very interesting happened. When the boys who had seen the whole thing, they saw Lord Balaram return, they were very happy. And they rushed to him joyfully, they embraced him. I said, sadhu, sadhu, well done, well done. And then something very surprising. Even the Lord Balaram, they started to chastise Balaram. Any ideas why they would chastise Balaram? He just finished killing a demon.
He took very long.
Yeah. They said, how dare you take so long? Don't you know we're waiting for the game to start? You're keeping us waiting. So next time, hurry, hurry. And I don't mean Krishna, Krishna. Hurry, hurry is in English. Hurry up. Come back. Do not take so long. Why do you think you could take so long? Like that, they start chastising him. And he said, oh, I'm sorry, yaar, ho gaya. And then they start the game again. So, who's Palambasur? Excuse me. Well, Palambasur represents lust for the opposite sex and desire for personal gain and honor. Who was in the previous life? Well, according to Brahma Vaivarta Puran, his name in the previous life was Sudarshan, who was one of the brothers of a person by the name of Suhotra, who actually became Bakasur. So in previous life, Bakasur and Palambasur were brothers. Not in this life, but previous life. So that's one version. But Garg Samhita says that Palambasur in previous life was a person by the name Vijay, who was a son of the king Huhu. Who remembers the name Huhu? We discussed him.
He was a
Gajendra
Gandharva.
Moksha.
Who was Huhu?
He was a Gandharva. He became
What?
crocodile.
Correct. That's exactly right. So the Gajendra Moksha pastime, he was the crocodile who grabbed the foot of Gajendra, the elephant king. So, I mean, it's all connected. It's amazing how this get connected. Anyway, so that's who he was. And he was cursed by Kuber actually to become a demon because he stole some flowers from Kuber's gardens. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur made a very interesting comment about Palambasur. Excuse me. He said that when a person has lusty attraction for the opposite sex, or greed for money, or the desire for self gratification, or inclination for increasing one's honor and false prestige, or the desire to be worshipped, all these things become a strong obstacle that are very difficult to overcome. And therefore, these people start acting like demons. So we should also understand that these things, and I'm going to repeat it, lusty attraction for opposite sex, greed for money, desire for self gratification, desire for honor and false prestige, desire to be worshipped by other people, they're all very, very, very detrimental for the development of our Krishna consciousness. And we should try as hard as we can to get rid of it. And it's not easy. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur recommends that we should assume a very humble mood and pray to Lord Balaram to remove these, let's call them anarthas, from our heart, because they will not allow us to become a good devotee, forget pure devotee, a good devotee. So that's the comment that Bhaktivinoda Thakur makes. Okay, so again, I'm going to pause for a second. Any questions or comments about the pastime of Lord Balaram with Palambasur? Okay, then I'll move on. Now we'll talk about the second forest fire.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. How are you?
I'm good, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, like just now you said, like we have to pray Balaram to get rid of this anarthas.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean we have to, I don't know, like, I mean, so we always also say that Hare Krishna mantra is good enough, and like praying Krishna is like good enough. But but uh, but what about this comment?
Well, so I'm glad you asked, by the way. It was very, very good question. So basically what we're saying is that chant Hare Krishna, having taken shelter of Lord Balaram. It's like we take shelter of our Guru and then we chant Hare Krishna. Right? So same thing. Taking shelter doesn't mean you change your prayer.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So just again, go back to the concept of Lord Balaram being the Guru Tattva, I should say. So what do we do for Guru? We take his shelter and chant the holy name. Because understand, chanting the holy name without offenses is a very difficult task. On our own, we are not able to do that. We need help. We need support. And that support and that help comes from Lord Balaram or our Guru. So when we say we take shelter of Lord Balaram, we're saying, please, my dear Lord Balaram, help us. So he will remove all these things so our chanting can become pure.
Okay.
Okay, is that clear? I mean, I'm glad you asked this question. It's a very important question. And I want to make sure it's clear.
Yeah. Can you please elaborate more on what exactly is taking shelter?
I'm glad you asked. So basically, when you take shelter, you're saying the following. You're saying, my Lord, I am not able to do this on my own. I'm in very desperate need for help. I have no strength of my own. I have no skill of my own. I have no ability of my own. I'm depending upon you to provide me all that so that I may chant the holy name of the Lord. Okay?
Okay.
And this is basically what we say to our Guru also. We say to our Guru, please remove our ignorance. Please connect us to Krishna. Please show us the right way. Please help us not become illusioned or disheartened when the obstacles come. Please, my dear Guru, please remove the obstacles from my path. And that's exactly the prayer we're doing to Lord Balaram.
Okay.
Please remove these obstacles from our path. And Lord Balaram is master at doing that. I should tell you the story about, real life story, about when the Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan was completed. There were a lot of problems. And even after the temple was built, the deities were installed, but for installation, the local pandits were insisting that you do the Karm Kandi installation. Otherwise, they would get violent. So Srila Prabhupada said, fine, go ahead, do it. When they finished, then he told the devotees, his disciples, okay, now you chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which will be the proper installation. But he made a statement. He said, now Balaram is installed. Balaram is here now. Now we'll have no obstacles. He'll take care of everything. So that's what we are saying. Let Lord Balaram take care of all the obstacles. So all these things we listed, the desire for honor, self-gratification, lusty nature, they're all obstacles, big obstacles in our path of our devotional service. And we're saying, Lord Balaram, please remove. It's like sometimes we pray to Lord Nrsimhadev, please protect. Not that Krishna cannot protect. But Krishna says, I've come especially as Lord Nrsimhadev with the special focus on protecting my devotees. So go ahead and pray to him. Somebody also said, well, Krishna is here to enjoy. So let him enjoy. Don't bother him with this request. He has appeared as Lord Nrsimhadev, as Lord Balaram, as Lord Nityanand. Go to them. But ultimately, you're still serving Krishna. Ultimately, wanting to chant Krishna's name. Ultimately, you're still wanting to serve Krishna. So it's all right. Is it making sense? Is it rational in your mind? Is it logical? Is it flowing?
Yes, 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 Prabhu. Actually, yeah, like everything was fine until you brought up the topic of at least you mentioned the name of Lord Narasimhadeva. Um, so how do we like pray to Narasimhadeva? Like that is also through Hare Krishna Mahamantra only, but
No. Sorry. We have Lord Narasimha's his own prayer.
correct.
Namaste Narasimhaya Tavkar Kamal Vare. Those are the prayers to Lord Narasimhadev. So we chant those prayers to pray to Lord Narasimhadev to protect our spirituality so we may continue to serve Krishna.
Okay.
But my point is that ultimately our goal is one. Help us serve Krishna. Help us please Krishna. But I'll go to anybody for help in doing that. Just Lord Nityanand, Lord Balaram, Lord Narasimhadev. We're happy to go to them. Because they can help us serve Krishna better. That's why even Hare Krishna Mahamantra, what is the meaning of Hare Krishna Mahamantra? It's praying to Radharani. My dear Radharani, kindly engage me in the service of Krishna. So we're praying to Radharani in this Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So she may engage us in the service of Krishna. Otherwise, we cannot directly engage ourselves. So ultimately, it's all about Krishna. And that's what we have to remember.
Okay.
All these personalities can help us serve him better.
But one confusion is why do we want to? Okay. Okay. So you said we pray to Lord Narasimhadeva for protection. Like protection against what?
It could be anything. So, for example, when Srila Prabhupada was very sick, he told his disciples to pray to Lord Narasimhadev for the protection of his body so he can continue to serve Krishna. He said, my mission is not done yet, so please pray to Lord Narasimhadev so I may survive and continue to serve Krishna.
Okay.
But it's not protection so I can have sense enjoyment.
Yeah. Actually, that was my confusion. I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's all about. Just remember one thing: it's all about pleasing Krishna. There's nothing else. So whatever we do, it has to be about pleasing Krishna.
Okay. Got it. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll move on to the second forest fire. So as always, the boys, Krishna, Balaram, they were all in the forest playing and singing and dancing and all that kind of things. And the cows entered the forest, deep in the forest. So the boys of Krishna said, hey, the cows have gone too far inside the forest. Let's go and get them. So they all rushed deep in the forest to bring the cows back. And as soon as they were well in the forest, a fire blazed up. And the cows were getting panicky. They were running around. There were groves of, what do you call it, canes, and they were getting behind them, but, canes burn also. So very quickly, everything was burning. The cowherd boys couldn't find the cows. They were searching for them desperately. They tried to follow the hoof prints, and, when they go, the grass is disturbed. So you can see that something has gone by this way. So they're following all those kind of things, but could not reach the cows. In some places, they found these broken pieces of plants and, sugar canes and those kind of things. They're following everything they could. They couldn't get to the cows. And suddenly they were surrounded by the fire also. It's big fire. So now what do you do? So what they do what they always do when they're in trouble or difficulty. They run to Krishna. I said, right, dear Krishna, time to save us again. So save us. And Krishna said, okay, you want me to save you? Close your eyes. That's a very interesting statement. You go to somebody for help that, fire is going to burn you, and that person says, close your eyes. The first thought may be, wait a minute, what is this game? We close our eyes, you run away, and we burn to death. Right? What gives here, man? But none of the boys ever thought anything like that. They said, oh, okay, you want us to close our eyes? We'll close our eyes. So they close their eyes very quickly, without any resistance, with full faith that whatever Krishna wants, we'll do, and Krishna will save us. And sure enough, they closed their eyes, and Krishna swallowed the fire. And then he said, okay, open your eyes. They opened their eyes. Not only the fire was gone, they were actually outside of the forest where they were playing in the first place. So Krishna not only drank or swallowed the fire, but he also transported them to a place which was safe. So actually, Sanatana Goswami says that this fire was a friend of Pralambasur. And the second fire represents atheism, another, what you would call, what's the right word? Philosophy that's antagonistic to Krishna consciousness. So that's what second forest fire represents. And the only escape from that fire is that you totally surrender to Krishna and say, only you can help. So actually that's why Lord Chaitanya always said, stay away from atheistic people, stay away from Mayavadis, and all those kind of people, because Mayavad is very antagonistic to Krishna consciousness philosophy. So stay away from them. Okay, so quick pause. I'm going to pause for very long. Any quick question on this? This was a very simple pastime.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Go ahead.
Is there any reason to move that fire? And does that represent anything?
Yeah.
Instead of.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I said, that the fire represents the atheism and any philosophy that's antagonistic to Krishna consciousness.
Okay. But he didn't swallow completely, right? He moved to some other place.
No, he transported them to a place that was safe, away from that forest. That's physically transported them. Remember, he transported people from Mathura to Dwarka. So that's not difficult for Krishna.
Okay. And no, the thought came like, why he didn't just put off the fire instead of...
He did, but still, fear in the heart of the boys. They were 5, 6, 7-year-old boys. Right? So he said, give your friends to this, put them in a safe place where they can see it's dry, there's no forest, there's no fire or forest, they're standing where it's proper ground. So they'll be more satisfied and more relieved. That's it.
Thanks.
Okay. All right. Now I'm going to talk about something that we see a lot of in Gopi Geet. But this is not Gopi Geet. This is the chapter where the gopis are getting together and they're glorifying Krishna's flute. So kind of an interesting way to glorify, because there's some degree of transcendental envy in the heart of the gopis against the flute. So we'll talk about that also. Anyway, so they're saying that when Krishna takes the cows to the forest and starts to play this flute, it's like the highest perfection for our eyes and ears. And then they said, what pious activities must this flute have performed that enables it to get this freely, drink the nectar of Krishna's lips? So in their mind, the flute is a very conscious living entity. It's enjoying the nectar of Krishna's lips. And then they said, it's a blessing for the flute. But how come we girls cannot get that blessing? Like, what do we have to do to get that blessing so we can have as much nectar of the lips of Krishna as this flute does. So another gopi said that, whenever he plays this flute, just hearing that flute of Krishna, actually in the purport, Srila Prabhupada uses a very interesting term, says flute song. I said, that is a very interesting term. Anyway, so when they hear the flute song of Krishna, the peacocks begin to dance, but all other creatures become stunned when they see the peacocks dancing like that. And they said, all these wives of demigods, they're traveling through the sky in their airplanes, they become struck by Cupid, and their garments come loose. The cows, they react also. How do they react? Their ears stand up on end, as if they want to drink the nectar of the flute song of Krishna through their ears. And their calves simply stand as stunned, can't move like a statue. And some of them who were drinking milk from the udders of their mother, these calves, now they stand as stunned like a statue, and the milk that was in their mouth is still there. Now it starts to overflow out of their mouth because they're not drinking it. They're too stunned to be doing that. And the birds, they take shelter of the branches of the trees and close their eyes and start to listen to Krishna's flute with rapt attention. And they're totally absorbed. They have lost all their external consciousness. They're simply listening to the flute song of Krishna. And they said, this is nothing. The rivers that normally flow, they become so attracted by this flute song. They develop these conjugal feelings in their heart for Krishna. And they stop their flow. So the rivers stop flowing. The water is not flowing any longer. They embrace Krishna's lotus feet with the quote-unquote arms of their waves, except the waves are not moving anymore. And the water then, because now it's stationary, starts to make columns, like pillars of water. And the clouds, they serve like an umbrella above the head of Krishna as he's playing the flute. So he'll have no sunshine. I should say no sun beaming on his head. All these women of Shabara race, these are very low class girls. They see the grass, which is God's red kumkum, that has fallen off the lotus feet of the Lord onto the grass. They take this kumkum from the grass and they put it on their breasts and faces, which alleviates the distress that the Cupid, Mr. Cupid, not Mr. COVID, Mr. Cupid has caused in their heart. And it's not just the living entities, it's even the non-moving, not just the moving entities, it's also non-moving living entities. They take the characteristic of moving living entities and start walking. And the moving living entities become stationary. The stones start melting and the water starts staying in one place. They said, how wonderful is that? Okay. It's 9:30. I'm going to pause, see if there are any questions. There's one chapter I couldn't do that I'll do next week if I want to respect the time. But are there any questions or comments about what?
Prabhu, is there any pastime for like when Krishna started playing the flute? Why Krishna chose the flute as the instrument? Any pastime for that?
Why Krishna chose flute as an instrument as opposed to like a guitar?
No.
Huh.
No. Is there any pastime like when he chose the flute? When he started playing the flute?
Oh, right from the beginning, like maybe it doesn't say specifically, but we never see Krishna's picture without the flute. Even when he was crawling on the floor, he had a flute.
Okay.
And not only had a flute, actually had 3 different types of flutes. In Sanskrit, they're known as Vanshi, Venu, and Murli. And they differ in number of holes and the length. So he didn't have just one type. He had 3 types of flutes that had different names. But like you never see Krishna without the flute. Even when he was a little baby trying to crawl.
Yeah.
So this is an eternal equipment for Krishna.
Okay. Sure. Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, then we'll stop here. And I was going to do 21, then I'll do it next week. And so thank you again, and I will see you next week. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Sure.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you. Now you were trying to say something? Sneha, were you trying to say something?
No, Prabhuji, I was saying Hare Krishna.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare